Devil May Cry 4 was originally released in 2008, but this is the special edition which was released in 2015. It's basically just a remaster with additional content in the form of 3 new playable characters, Lady, Trish, and Virgil. DMC4 introduces a new character, Nero. Nero is a devil hunter who is a member of a religious group called the Order of the Sword, who worships the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. However, during a ceremony, Dante appears and takes out the leader of the order. Fearing that his love interest, Kairi, is in danger, Nero immediately fights off Dante, but learns that he and Dante have something in common. As Dante flees, Nero is tasked with capturing Dante and returning him to the Order to answer for his crimes as he and Kairi are separated. Nero attempts to catch up to Dante and reunite while an army of demons invade the island. And that's the general gist of the story of Devil May Cry 4. For Dante, Lady and Trish appear at his shop to notify him of rumors of a religious group that worships Sparta, which sends all 3 over to the island to check it out, and that's where the story of Devil May Cry 4 begins. Devil May Cry 4 has a total of 20 missions, and for the first 11 missions, you play as Nero, then you play as Dante for missions 12 through 18, then Nero again for missions 19 and 20. So basically, you spend just over half the game as Nero, and the other half as Dante. However, a lot of this game is spent just backtracking. This is my biggest complaint about Devil May Cry 4. You'll go forward through the game as Nero, through the castle, further into Fortuna, through the forest ruins, then you'll go backwards as Dante. You'll go back through the same forest ruins, then you'll go through the castle, fighting the same bosses over again along the way. You do get to experience tougher enemies in those areas along with Dante's fighting style, but it just isn't that interesting. You basically go forward through the game as Nero, then backwards through the game as Dante. The Dante portions just were not as interesting, which is a shame because Dante's combat is really cool in this game. Combat-wise, 4 is a substantial improvement over 3. Nero has the Red Queen sword, which functions similarly to the other swords in the game, and he can use a tether to pull enemies towards him. While standing, he also has a powerful grab attack that slams the enemy into the ground, and it can also be used to knock down the other enemies. The only thing Nero lacks is any attack from far away, but then again, his moves are pretty powerful to the point where it just really does not matter that much. For me, Dante was definitely the most interesting of the 2. He plays mostly the same from Devil May Cry 3, but now he can switch between all 4 of his fighting styles on the fly, instead of being limited to just one at a time. Also, you no longer need to upgrade the styles through gameplay, you can simply just purchase the upgrades with Lost Souls, giving the styles more powerful moves. Dante can also switch freely between every gun and sword he has on the fly, instead of being limited to just 2. The ability to switch openly between weapons and styles really helps you to experiment with different moves and makes his combat really fluid. I really liked just messing around with Dante in combat and seeing what worked and what didn't. It made Dante feel really fluid. Virgil is the character that I played the least. Maybe my disdain towards Virgil in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 has swayed me. However, he is a great character for crowd control, and he has an interesting concentration mechanic. The higher the concentration meter is, the more damage his attacks will do. If he takes damage, though, he'll lose his concentration. He can absolutely tear through crowds of enemies, though. I just found the other characters to be more interesting. Now, my favorite character in the game is Lady. Now, for her, she has mostly gun-based attacks with her pistols, shotgun, and her signature rocket launcher, the Kalina Ann. She also has a grapple attack similar to Nero, and her melee attacks are good too. She is definitely the easiest character to play, in my opinion at least, and her rocket does great damage and can be used from far away. Up close, her shotgun is very effective as well, dealing great damage, making it especially useful for crowd control. However, she tends to be quite fragile as her health is lower than everybody else, so she can take damage pretty quickly. She is definitely my favorite character in the game, and I had a lot of fun just annihilating the enemies, especially from far away. Her special attack using the Devil Trigger meter does a fantastic amount of damage as well. It's great to just see her absolutely eviscerate a boss. It was great fun to just blow up everything and blast my way through a game that is otherwise melee heavy. For Trish, I really liked her moveset in this game. Her round trip is fantastic for crowd control, and it's extremely satisfying when you hit multiple enemies all at once. You can then follow that up by throwing out her melee attacks, and she uses her fists and legs to just pulverize the enemies. She's very fast, and she seems to make easy work of most of the enemies. She still has guns and range attacks, and she can quickly dash to the enemies. She's fast and her spinning attacks are really cool, but once again, her round trip is what I mostly lived by while I was playing as Trish. But she is a really cool character in this game, but I still think Lady was the most fun. The bosses in this game were interesting too, and you do have to fight the same bosses over again, but you had to do that in previous games too, so it's not that big of a deal. It was interesting to see how the different characters approached the same boss, but I do think absolutely that Devil May Cry 4's strong point is the combat. It's interesting to see how much variety the characters have and just how different the game feels with the new characters. There's also a difference in the orb system compared to Devil May Cry 3. The red orbs function as they always have, and you can collect red orbs over the course of the game by defeating enemies, finding the red orb crystals, or achieving high ranks. You can purchase items with the red orbs, and you can upgrade your health and Devil Trigger meter. This game also introduces a new currency called Proud Souls, which are used to purchase new upgrades and abilities for each character, unlike the previous game where you used red orbs to purchase those. Each character has their own unique abilities, but you can refund their souls and redistribute them however you like, greatly encouraging experimentation, as there is no risk whatsoever to buying any new moves with the souls. You can really tune the characters to your liking. Similar to previous games, you can collect blue orb fragments by either completing secret missions or finding them scattered throughout the map. There are a total of 16 to collect, so to max out your health, you will need to find all of them, along with purchasing the blue orbs with the red orbs. You can also purchase purple orbs that upgrade your Devil Trigger meter too. You can also purchase yellow orbs that will allow you to revive yourself, along with other items such as vital stars, just like the past games. It's definitely a good idea to upgrade your health and Devil Trigger though. And you don't have to worry about not being able to upgrade your weapons either if you choose to upgrade your health. Just like past games, you can unlock harder difficulties and new outfits by completing the game. You can also unlock artwork and character renders as well. By completing the game on Dante Must Die, you can unlock the special version of Dante and Nero with the Infinite Devil Trigger, making the game much easier, especially on harder difficulties. Bloody Palace is a large combat trial that can be used to experiment with the combat, or simply just as an exercise to see how far you can make it through. You could absolutely spend a lot of time trying to master the characters in Bloody Palace, and you can even complete it, which does take quite a while to do. There's also the Story Theater, which allows you to rewatch any cutscenes you've already seen, and you can change the character outfits in the cutscenes too. I think that feature is really cool. Another feature this game had was the Heaven or Hell difficulty mode, which basically just allows you to completely kill any enemy with just one hit. Obviously, this makes ranged weapons the most powerful beings in the entire universe, and enemies pose absolutely no threat to you. I thought this was really fun. Overall, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, at least to me, feels kind of unfinished, almost as if it was rushed. The characters in combat are absolutely the best part in the game, but the story and the backtracking, to me, left a lot to be desired. Maybe it's just a personal preference when it comes to the story, but I really do like this game though. I think it's a great addition to the series, but I must admit that 3 is still my favorite thus far. Just like the other Devil May Cry games though, I definitely will revisit this in the future. DMC4 gets a 7 out of 10.
Are you ready? Yeah. Come on, babes. Let's rock!